All right, sticking in the SEC here, I cannot, because it was a great weekend of football in the Southeastern Conference. Alabama plays a great game against Tennessee. Better in the Vols. I thought they would win, and lo and behold, Alabama wins kind of comfortably against a Tennessee team who I believe is good, who I know is good. And you know what? I have to eat a little bit of crow, even though I picked Alabama to win the game. The Crimson Tide had their quarterback Ty Simpson throw for just 253 yards. Joey Aguilar had 268. And yet, Alabama wins 37-20. 37-20. Alabama still hasn't lost an SEC game. They still have not lost an SEC game. And if you want an indicator for how much further down the SEC has come compared to what it was at its peak, which it is not at or anywhere close to, quite frankly, you could say close, but they are not there. Alabama lost to Florida State. This game, not just at this point in the season, but as the season continues, because Kalen DeBoer looks like he's figured things out. And that doesn't surprise me one bit. And I was stunned. I picked Alabama to beat Florida State in that season opener comfortably. And I was stunned that they lost that football game. I could not believe it because in my preseason ACC power rankings, for those watching on YouTube, you can see, I had Florida State at 14th behind Virginia, team they lost to, by the way. Florida State lost to Stanford tonight. Now, as someone who has watched games take place on the farm in Palo Alto many a times, I'm not shocked in the slightest. Cross-country trip, late-night game. When did this game start for Seminole fans? Conference realignment is so foolish. And Cal playing North Carolina, Stanford playing Florida State, and those games kicking off at 8 p.m. That's 11 Eastern. It's just completely and utterly ridiculous. Anyway, bringing this back to the football conversation. A lot of people bought into Florida State. I said, let's wait. Let's wait and see. They might have peaked right there. Yeah, they peaked. They haven't won an ACC game. Have not won. The team that looks like the best team in the SEC has a loss this year to a winless ACC program that's coming off a 2-10 season. That is one of the best representations in a one-game sample of how the scales have balanced in college football. And they have. And that makes it even more exciting and fun. Because Miami can lose to Louisville while still being a really good football team. Ohio State looks like the best team in the country. Yeah, I wouldn't put anybody over Ohio State right now. They're number one in my top 25. They're not moving after this week. Goodness gracious, Wisconsin is bad. But, by the way, James Franklin to Wisconsin, that would make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Anyway, so I think that for Alabama going forward, their schedule looks like it's got a lot of wins on it. I picked them to go 11-1 before the year. I'm not coming off of that prediction. Kalen DeBoer seems to have figured things out. Ty Simpson is playing good football. He and Ryan Grubb have got things going along. Whatever adjustments, adaptations, changes, however you want to phrase it, all of that going into the SEC from what they had at Washington previously, this is what it looked like. This is what it felt like. Alabama's just good. Good vibes for Alabama winning a rivalry game there comfortably. Tennessee, on the other hand, is a good team. I don't think Tennessee is bad. They've been better than I expected this year. They are not going to wind up in the college football playoff or the SEC championship game. Had your opportunity against Georgia to do that. But going forward, you got 2 losses. Is that getting you in? Probably not. Probably not, because Georgia just keeps finding ways to win. I tell you, here's another example of what I'm talking about with the SEC. If the game that played out in Athens, Georgia, were being played in Lubbock, Texas, or Waco, or somewhere like that, the SEC homer crowd would be leaning into, see, the Big 12 doesn't play any defense. Well, or alternatively, they just have a lot of really good offensive players, which is, of course, what the narrative should be for the SEC. But can we also point out 43-35 the final, Georgia over Ole Miss. Florida, fire Billy Napier and go hire Lane Kiffin if you can. If you can. He might want to stick it out there. That's the first loss of the season for the Rebels. Not a game that surprised me in the slightest. Both quarterbacks played really well. Trinidad Chambliss is awesome. Both offensive coordinators had great days. I have liked Gunnar Stockton since I first saw him in the college football playoff last year. I remember my exact take when they lost to Notre Dame. Gunnar Stockton's not the problem. The problem was that Georgia got pushed around, and you can still push Georgia around. That Ole Miss offensive line did anything and everything they wanted to lead a guy that was playing Division II football to 35 points in Athens, which was roaring to life. The crowd was on fire. It was awesome. It was a great football game. But make no mistake about it, Georgia is relying on their offense to bail out their defense. In their two biggest wins of the year, that's what is needed to happen. And the one time their defense did play well, yep, they happened to lose to Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. He's really good in close games situationally. Newsflash. That's something that the SEC is starting to really learn. But for Alabama to have beaten Georgia, and then Georgia just comes right back, I admire Kirby Smart for a number of reasons. But the biggest reason right now is that the resilience and no quit and find a way attitude, Georgia is the BYU of the SEC. That's what they are. Because all they do is just go find ways to win. And yep, they lost one this year. Life can be hard sometimes. But what you can never doubt with Kirby Smart and Georgia, those kids are not quitting. If they could ever figure out the defense, Georgia would be really good because I like the Georgia offense a lot. I know Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, has faced some questions before, but you can't ask any right now. Not with the performance against Tennessee and this performance against Ole Miss. They trailed by 2 possessions in the second half, came back, finally got a stop, and Gunnar Stockton was nails. Gunnar Stockton was absolutely, positively awesome on Saturday afternoon. And he is just looking better, and the offense is just looking better and better. You realize how many yards there were in this game, though? It's not an old school SEC game. Georgia had 510 yards of offense. Ole Miss had 351. Chambliss threw for 263. Stockton threw for 289 and 4 touchdowns. Neither one of them threw an interception. The high-level quarterback play, it's fun to watch. It really is. I think we thought it would come from different sources this year in college football. But we're getting the quarterback play we expected. It's not Garrett Nussmeier, and it's not Cade Klubnik, and it's not Drew Aller, and it's not a bunch of guys, but it sure is guys that have emerged, like Gunnar Stockton, who is arriving as a bona fide star in college football, and a guy that has shown you, yeah, he can lead Georgia to go win any kind of football game. The question is, can they figure out their defense going forward? Crazy thing to say, when they won 2 national championships largely on the back of their defense, they have flipped. It is an invert. They have gone into the world of Tenet by Christopher Nolan, and they are inverted. They are inverted Georgia. Their remaining schedule, by the way: Florida at Mississippi State, Texas, Charlotte, Georgia Tech. Do you see them losing more than one of those games? Because, yeah, I just don't, because that offense is lethal. So, close it there for the day. More thoughts coming this week on the show, of course, from what was a great weekend of college football. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.